So welcome yourself as this formless, borderless, aware presence. And to do so, simply be without the past or the future. Without attempting to improve or change anything, but simply sort of sink into presence. Relax your body mind. Consider that all is well in pure and simple being. In presence and as presence. There is no time and space. There is no person, no history. It's just God's light shining. You don't need to fix anything, or improve anything, or reach any state. No need to complicate things with ideas and notions that are from the past, that are dead and done. In presence and as presence, there is no history. There isn't a continuation of your past traumas or an improvement in your life. That's too complicated. And it's unnecessary. And it's fictitious. Whatever sense of me that you may be experiencing, allow it to expand. Don't hem it in. Don't limit it. Allow it to expand and to populate the entire realm of your experience. No boundaries. So not only I am here, but I am also everywhere. Rather than containing yourself within the body, you can contain the body within yourself. Everything you experience it within yourself. Meaning within consciousness, awareness, the infinite, invisible reality of being, the transparency of being. So your body and the universe are an extension of each other. They are commingling. Interacting. They're interacting in such a way that your body and the universe are not two. The universe is your body. And you are the body of the universe. The I am is not located inside the body or on the couch, on the bed, in the living room. I am is not located. I am is primordial, primary. For a while, you were inside the bubble of your life and your story, your family, your ambition, your conditioning. But all that stuff is gone. You are no longer that which you imagined yourself to be. In fact, you have never been that which you imagined yourself to be. Nor are you that which you imagine yourself to be. In and as presence, you don't live in the past. You don't live fixing the past and improving the past into a better future. That's the bubble of ignorance. Every time that you go to the past to solve your problems and understand yourself, it's like going to the cemetery to dig out corpses in order to comprehend yourself. In this moment, presence awareness is, and there is no such thing as lacking, seeking, or needing, or wanting, or regretting, or hoping in and as presence. You don't need to keep holding on to your idea and your feeling about yourself. You can let it go and step into pure being, not knowing, free from the past and the stories and the beliefs and the old stale feelings. They're of no use to you in being that which you are. In fact, these old beliefs and feelings that you hold on to, they veil, they're in the way. They're obstacles to presence. In the past, you were seeking sensations and feelings and experiences, and you wanted the world to appear in a certain way. You worked so hard to improve the world, to improve yourself, to improve your family. Without knowing yourself, believing that your inherited ideas and feelings about yourself is what you are, a personal bubble, a limited self. When you live as a limited self, you maintain it, you perpetuate it, you spread it. You don't need to wait for anything. You can right now recognize yourself as this being, this borderless presence, the one reality, the reality of awareness that's neither male nor female, that's neither rich or poor, neither with a past or a future. contemplate truth. So you can come to the freedom from the illusion of mortality, the freedom from the inner struggles, the sense of limitation, the inner argumentation. There is nothing in the way. Okay, well, if you have any questions, please make sure you unmute your mic, and if you'd like to turn on your video, this way we can see each other. And I have a question also that was sent to me. I'll go through that in a few. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so since there are no questions, I will address your question, Rashmi. So Rashmi, you wrote, Magdi, talk about feeling localized in the body. It's a big obstacle to feeling as universal consciousness. So one could say, Rashmi, that the body-mind in a way, it is local, that the body lives in a certain town, in a certain village, in a certain house or apartment, or right now the body may be in the living room or the kitchen. So there are very particular relationship, very specific relationship between the body, the mind, and the world, meaning there's a very specific moment by moment sense of sensory realm of interaction between the body and the world, and the mind, the inner realm of thinking and feeling. So we could say that the body, world, and mind, the interactions of the body, world, mind are specific, they're particular, and they're changing, of course, moment by moment. And one could say that they are local in that when the body is in the living room, the body is not in the kitchen. When you're interacting, talking with a friend, you are not talking with your mother or with your boss. So there are very specific aspects to the interaction between the world, body, and mind. But these interactions, although they are specific, they do not limit or define consciousness, awareness. They do not impose upon you, awareness, their qualities. So the interaction of the world, body, and mind, the specific aspects of the world, body, mind, appear to you moment by moment, like this moment. There is this appearance, this interaction that's arising to you. That which appears is specific, but the awareness that perceives is not limited. Now, when we overlook awareness, and when we overlook the formless aspect of awareness, meaning its limitless aspect, when we overlook the reality of awareness, because awareness is real, what we're talking about, awareness, is our experience. When we overlook awareness, the sense of I, which is awareness, which is borderless, which is not limited, at that moment when we overlook it, the sense of I gets mixed up with the interaction between the world, body, mind. We sense that I am this interaction, that this interaction is defining me. And so the sense of presence, which is borderless, is replaced by the sense of something specific is happening. So it's like it's as if somehow you have the wide open sky and there are some clouds in the sky. And your attention, you're able somehow to just look at the clouds and overlooking altogether the wide open sky. At that moment, you have the impression that the sky is actually it's the clouds. The impression is that the cloud is what the sky is. So until somehow you see through the clouds, or you see beyond the clouds, that yes, there are clouds, meaning there are interactions between the world, body, and the mind, moment by moment. But until you're able to also get a sense of the presence, of the awareness of the wide open sky, your impression is that you are localized, that you are specific, that you are defined by this particular world, body, mind experience. So you need to look at the sense of that I am inside the body, or that I am limited, or that I am localized in the body. And ask yourself, you have to take a look into it. You have to sort of peel the onion. What is your experience of the body? When you look at your experience of the body, you will find that your experience of the body is particular sensations, particular images, feelings. So how can you, that's the next question, how can you be contained within a set of sensations, images, or feelings? I'm not saying you're not, I'm just saying, just take a look at it. How can you be localized by the body being some images, sensations, perceptions? Now, you also need to take a look at what you mean by I. I feel localized in the body. Just to take a look. Are you assuming something? When you say I am localized, what do you mean by I?
Yeah, in that moment, I'm identifying with the body.
So the I that you say, when you say I am inside the body, what's this I that you consider yourself to be? Because I'm not denying that there is I, because we all say I, we all know I am.
I know that I is not the body, that it's awareness. But when I open my eyes, it seems like I'm only aware of local things.
Yes, when you open your eyes, and when I open my eyes, I'm aware of a local, a very specific local thing. Yes. But also, I am aware that I'm aware. Right?
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with what I'm perceiving. If I'm perceiving the living room and you're perceiving the kitchen. So yes, when I open my eyes, I do perceive a local perception, a specific perception. Right now, this is this couch, this is this rug, etc. But the fact that I perceive a local perception does not mean that I am local. Because what is it that perceives, Rashmi?
Awareness.
The body is an instrument, a wonderful instrument, but the instrument does not perceive. It is awareness that perceives. The reality of our experience is awareness, is not the instrument. Now, the instrument is local. Yes, we could say the instrument is local. You could say the instrument exists. The body exists right now, is in the living room. You could also say the body is in America. You could say also the body is on the planet Earth. You could say also the body is in such and such a galaxies in the universe. So even on the local level, you could define locality in many ways, but that's a side point. That's a side point. The thing is it your experience that awareness is inside the body?
I got. I don't know either way, honestly.
Well, you know, I think you know that you perceive the body.
Yeah.
You perceive the sensation of your feet on the ground. You perceive your image. So you know that you perceive the body, right?
Right.
So that's a hint. Right? I mean, isn't that a hint? That's data.
Yeah, but awareness can also perceive itself. So why can't the body also perceive itself?
Is it your experience that the body perceives itself? And can an object, the body is, again, we have to be clear about what we mean by the body. The body is, let's say, perceptions or sensations, right?
Yeah.
Can a sensation perceive a sensation?
No.
Because sensation is known, but awareness is not known. Awareness is knowing, right?
Yeah.
So that which knows, meaning awareness, is made out of knowingness. It's like it's made out
Yeah.
of particles of knowingness.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yes. So yes, awareness knows it is aware. I know I am, and I know I'm aware. I, awareness, know I'm aware. Because I am made out of awareness. Awareness is made out of awareness. But a perception or a sensation is known, is an appearance that's known. It is not knowing, right?
Yes.
So if you put those pieces together, you may come to the understanding that the body appears, as a way of speaking, appears within awareness. It is, the body is known by awareness. It's not the awareness, the body that knows awareness. That's for one thing. And secondly, that which knows is not inside that which it knows. When you perceive a rock, a stone, or a thought, or a table, you are not inside of it. One could say, as a way of speaking, that it is inside of you. You follow?
Yeah.
So you need to contemplate that. So you need first to come to understand that you are perceiving the world, you are perceiving the body, that you are experiencing the world, the body, the mind, thoughts, images, memories, feelings. You perceive the ocean, you perceive the oak tree in the yard, you perceive the kitchen table, you perceive your leg, you perceive the sensation of your feet on the ground.
I've gone through that reasoning. It
Yes.
just goes back to this conditioned feeling that I'm localized behind my eyes. I have this feeling like I'm looking out from behind my eyes and I'm
It,
located somewhere in my head. I know that I cannot pinpoint it, but it's just like a feeling in the body.
yes. So it's illogical, it's irrational, because when you contemplate that the body appears to you, that you perceive the body, you perceive the world, you perceive thoughts. It is irrational to conclude with rationality that you perceive the world and at the same time you are somehow behind the world, located behind the world. If you perceive the world and the world is appearing to you, you're not located behind it. You're not located somewhere behind the nose or behind the skull or inside the brain. You perceive the nose, you perceive the face, you perceive the image, you perceive the sensation. So it's irrational. And this irrationality comes from the belief, the old belief, well, maybe it's not that old, but the belief that I refers to the body, that I refers to Rashmi, to a female self or a male, whatever. As you continue to look at these questions, and also consider that the feeling that you are located behind the eyes, that this sensation or this feeling appears to you. In other words, you're perceiving a sensation that Rashmi is located behind the eyes. Yes,
Yes.
because you are perceiving it, you are capable of speaking about it. So it's something you're perceiving. You're perceiving that you are located behind the eyes. So there is the you that is located behind the eyes, and there is the you that perceives that sensation, right?
Right.
Now, which one of them are you? Which are you? Behind door A or are you behind door B? You know, it's the thing is that because awareness is sort of, it's formless, it embraces everything.
Yeah.
Easy to get to the impression that it's somewhere here behind my eyes or my face or my head or something like that. So there is an exercise that sometimes we do, which is, okay, take this sensation that you are located behind the eyes and see if you can locate it slightly behind your head, whatever, a few inches, 5, 10 inches, whatever, behind your head. So now you're located behind your head and you're perceiving not just from an inch behind your eyes, but a few inches behind your head. So there is still sort of a focal point of perception, but it's not inside the bodies. Sort of, it includes the body, but it's slightly outside of your head. You can play with that if it resonates for you. The other thing,
Yeah.
I'd like you to look at, Rashmi, is that when you consider perception, your experience right now, you are perceiving your perception. Let's say you are looking at the table or at the computer. Your experience is that you are experiencing your experience. You follow?
Yes.
You're perceiving your perception, yes?
Yes.
Where is your perception located?
It's in like this field of consciousness.
Yes. It's intimate. When it's not separate from the awareness that perceives it, right?
Yes.
Meaning I and the perception are one. You follow that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I refers to that which perceives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that understanding, there isn't the experience of being an inch or 2 inches behind the eyes, right? It's
Right.
absent, right?
Right.
So your experience, when you take a close look at your experience, you find, I use the term intimacy. It's intimacy of one in a way.
Yeah.
The zero distance,
Yes.
the non-dual aspect of our experience. And in that understanding, there is no distance. There isn't 1 inch or behind or in front or behind the right eye or behind, inside the brain. There isn't, that's absent. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to the fact that in your experience, everything you're experiencing, every perception, every sensation, every mentation is appearing at zero distance of yourself. There isn't like an actual, there isn't a place where you could say, oh, this is where I am perceiving from. You know what I mean? Like if I give crayon, I tell you, okay, put an X, look at your experience, how it's at zero distance, put an X, a red X onto where you are perceiving from. You wouldn't know where to put the X because it's an open field of intimacy. The perceiver and the perceived sort of, they're like one. There isn't a point of where the perceiver is and then a certain perceived.
So sometimes I do experience that intimacy and everything is in me. And when I close my eyes, I don't feel localized. But it's when I open my eyes and, like if I'm looking at the room from the doorway of a room as opposed to another part of the room, it's the visual, what you see in the visual field, that kind of throws me into thinking I'm at where I'm seeing it from.
Yes, but you have available to you the capacity to take a closer look and see that, okay, I get the impression that I'm here and the room is there, I'm perceiving from a certain focal point. But then you can also take a look at, okay, is that which I'm perceiving, where is it? Is it out there? Is what I'm perceiving out there and me in here? Am I standing on top of the X, where it says here I am, and the world is out there, or the perception is out there, or the room is out there? Or is my experience that I'm perceiving my perception and that which is perceiving the perception are one?
Can you say the last thing again?
So that you have the capacity to take a look at, is my perception, or is that which I perceive,
yeah,
is my perception, is it out there and I'm standing here where the X is it, or is in my experience that which I perceive, meaning my perception, and I, that which perceives it, are we not one?
Yeah.
So that you need to visit, you need to use the tools that you have available to you, whenever possible, to bring a correction from the old notion that you are separate. There is a separate me located somewhere, located behind the eyes or located inside the body or whatever. So that it aligns itself, so that your perception and your experience aligns itself with the one reality, the intimacy of being, the transparency of being, the zero distance of experience.
Yeah, I really appreciate you walking me through all this, Magdi.
So like sometimes,
Thank you.
yes, sometimes we say that everything that we experience is intimately ourself. But that's not like conceptual. When the teacher is saying that,
are you cleaning it?
is referring to our experience, referring to the intimacy that the I awareness is, one way of saying it is, this form, this perception is awareness taking on this form, taking on the form of the world, of the body, of the mind. Sometimes we say, yes, there is a world, there is a body, there is a mind, but the reality is one. The reality is awareness. There are many ways of speaking it, but I feel that what may be helpful for you is to notice that when you take a closer look at your experience, you will find your experience to be complete intimacy with awareness, with consciousness. And in that intimacy, you will not find a localization, 2 inches, 1 inch. You will not find a localization. You will just find intimacy, the oneness, the wholeness, the transparency, the vastness. But it's not about seeking any feeling. We're not seeking any feeling. We're not seeking any experience. We're just looking, taking a look at our experience.
Yeah. It's not about seeking, but it's about aligning what you experience with what the reality is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Rashmi.
Hello, Magdi, John.
John, if you don't,
Hi.
just hello, John. If you don't mind, just a minute, because
Okay, sure.
of messages that
Your volume. Can you do anything with your volume also, please?
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, John. So in just 1 minute. So Frank, hello, Frank. You write, hi, Magdi. Can you discuss breaking away from feeling overly responsible for others and parents? And I just got positive test results for COVID. Can you talk about the disease? So, you know, Frank, we have some responsibility towards our children up to a certain point, to be available to them as a guide, to be available to them for advice, for assistance, and also to be available to them as an example of living as the wisdom as God's wisdom. So yes, we do have a responsibility, and also towards others. Of course, we do have responsibility because we live in an interactive space. We share many things, so we work together to care for the earth, to care for each other, to help each other, and so there is a responsibility. But I like to look at the term responsibility, Frank, as a proper response. It's not that that there is somebody that is responsible to act in a certain way when they fail or they succeed, or if they fail, watch out. It's not like this sort of Damocles sword that's hanging over your head. No, I don't feel that that's very loving and very kind. Responsibility is more responding in an appropriate way to the situation. If you have family and friend, there is a certain way you respond. But the response is always tailored to this moment. It's not a priori sort of a response. It's a responding to the situation as it's unfolding to you in the moment. And of course, the best way to respond is to respond out of the understanding of the peace, understanding of the honoring of the other people's freedom, other people's sort of to be fair and to listen and to not to be just wrapped up into your own sense of separation. So whenever we're responding from the sense of separation, then it's messed up. It's not going to lead to any good results. But when we are responding from the openness of being, from the understanding that the other is myself, is the same consciousness, and then our response is tailored to the particular situation and is inspired by love, by the love which is a recognition of the other as myself. Now, the way we usually relate with responsibility is we use guilt. We have responsibility and guilt. You are acting responsible, so you're a good guy. You're not acting responsible. My God, you know, how could you live with yourself? That's not a model that really applies in non-duality. In non-duality, our main responsibility is to awaken to our true nature, to awaken from ignorance, to somehow see through the illusion of the me in time with my past trauma and my past successes and failures and so on. That is our main responsibility. And so in terms of your question about responsibility, the path towards the correct responsibility is via the understanding that you are not a separate self and the others are not separate from yourself. That when we respond to each other from the understanding that we are one, it's a good response. And when we respond to each other as separate selves, it's a bad response. In terms of the COVID, Frank, first, I wish you a quick recovery and a fast recovery and a full recovery. Disease is part of the human and the animal and the vegetal experience realms. It is what we call disease is part of the realm of manifestation. And we do our best with it. You know, some trees get some fungus, Some survive it for 5-10 years, other for 2-3 years. Some, they survive it without any problem. You know? So disease is part of our human experience, and we deal with it the best we can. Unfortunately, in the human realm, there is ignorance, there is the sense of separation, greed, and unfortunately, there are people who are looking for power and looking to get rich, and sometimes at the cost of everybody, on behalf of everybody. You need to take a look at how you, what is your understanding, your feeling about the COVID, which way to approach it. You know, everybody's looking at this question. The medical field is looking at this question. There are people who have different opinions about it, different feelings about it. I don't know what to say. I can only wish you complete a quick recovery. But as a side note, maybe not so much of a side note, don't add to the disease, don't add to COVID or whatever you're feeling, don't add any anxiety, don't add any psychological dimension, don't go into any ideas about yourself and what's going to happen to you and so on. Just deal with the situation with as much presence as you can. Look at the situation, how you're feeling and how things are unfolding, what sort of advice is around you. Take it all in, but don't add to it any psychological aspect. In the end, really, what matters is way beyond COVID, way beyond the disease that we all suffer from in one way or the other. What matters is the peace of being, which is, of course, has nothing to do with COVID. Anyways, I wish you again a quick and complete recovery.
So, Magdi?
Yes, hello, John.
Hi. You know, I wish Frank recovery also, but I wanted to speak about. It was interesting. I smiled because Rashmi and you were talking about the consciousness in the head and all that stuff, and it was just 2 nights ago. I guess I was sitting in the car, and I said, I see, I'm seeing outside of my head. I mean, that feels so real, and I go, okay, so that's a feeling, yada yada yada, and but anyway, I was going through this, and and I realized, okay, it's not an object I can see. I can imagine from books, you can see the skull or, x-rays. So thought, there's a memory of that, and thought says I must be in there. That must be what my head is. And so I must be in there, because it certainly feels like I'm looking out of my eyes, and I'm hearing out of my ears, and sensations are out of, and of course, all the other things that you said and others as well come back to me, and this intimacy thing. But more importantly, I realized that I wanted to, and it was thought, and I realized that too, that I wanted to divide it. It's not the oneness. I wanted. There's a sense of wanting to divide it, and that's been trained also in life and stuff. I'm not making it bad or good, but I'm just saying that there was this thing of dividing it, and I couldn't. That I said, okay, so it's in the center. It feels like it really is, sort of up on top and back a little bit, back a little bit, right? And then I go, but I can't really see it, but I have this, feeling that it's there, because where else would I be looking from? Because I have sensation, like, oh, that's sensation, yeah. Anyway, long story short, when I realized that what's looking at it has no shape, what I think is looking, whatever is going on there, what's looking at it has no form or shape, and like as you said, it's limitless, and so forth and so on. And then I realized the word knowing. That gets used in non-duality in this, and I realized there's a knowing, and that knowing has no shape or form. And once I was there and knew that I was trying to divide things in two, and there's no such thing as dividing anything in two, because how would I do that? Mm-hmm. I could divide it, but then there'd have to be a space in between the two, and so forth and so on. And so it was just impossible to do anything in that direction. And I realized it's the knowing. The knowing is just all of a sudden it's everywhere, Yeah. And then I also realized that there was thinking and stuff like that. I went, that's it. And I'm free of the body. That's what's a thought afterwards, an afterthought. I'm free of the body. But it's but then I realized, this is too much thinking, but I realized that it's part of my problem. But I realized that there's a shrinking. Well, I'm going to call it a shrinking back. One is expansion, one is shrinking back. Mm-hmm. But there's a shrinking back into the body. But in some ways, that has to happen for functionality, because otherwise, when I really understand it, when I really see that, and I go, the knowing, there's no shape or form. The knowing knows the knowing. It's just impossible to be captured in there. And I go, but I can't. Of course, this always comes up for me, but I can't live like that because I'm too expanded. That's going to sound silly, but that's there. But I think the more important thing for me was just always going back to who I am truly. What is the truth? What is the reality here? And that's always been. That's one thing that I've always took on from you is this. What is the reality? And what's my real? And what is the experience? What is a real experience? Even though there's a real experience of feeling things are in the head, the brain, whatever. But there's also an experience of being the experience that knows, that the expanded, the no form experience. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the question in that would be, in a sense, how do I return? I realize now as I'm saying this, it's a silly question in a way for me. Now, how do I return? Because it will automatically happen. But how do I return back into that place? Because that's just what I do. But how do I turn into that place? I guess it's the question is maybe I guess it's just me again trying to Yeah, I should never, I should never, I should never open my mouth sometimes, it seems. But anyway, but that's not true. Anyway, I, it seems like I want to know something intellectually, and I don't really need to. I will return and I'll drive the car and I'll go home and stuff like that. But I think probably the more important thing, maybe that's my question, is guide me in this. The more important thing is to know the truth, and that is the knowing of the knowing, you know, or the knowing itself, you know, and so forth. It's just always there's always a returning there, even though there's never a leaving there, but there's always a returning there. Maybe
So
if there's a, I guess that's the question in some senses, to guide me in that, so I don't get lost in the intellectual aspect of it.
yes. So you know, understanding. In understanding, there isn't an understander. There is
Yeah.
the understanding. So one could say that the understander is slightly before the understanding, and then makes it commentary after the understanding, which is fine.
Mm.
And in understanding, there is no understander. There is just understanding, just consciousness, just understanding. And understanding is sufficient unto itself. It operates, it has its own it's complete unto itself. It doesn't need you.
Yeah, I'm realizing there's a realization of that, which is really a happy thing, which is really a good thing.
You don't need to remember anything. What you remember is just activity of thought. It's the play of thought. It's a narrative, but it has nothing to do with understanding. It has
Yeah.
to do with reality, with truth.
I'm sorry, Magda, your volume is going down again.
Yes, yes. So notice that first, your experience is never in the past. It's always right now, this moment. And in this moment, there isn't a time. There isn't a past John and a future John. Not yet. Just presence, just beingness, you know. And so in presence and as presence, I say this moment, you know, as presence, it's just presence. And somehow there is also, one could say, talking and listening. And there can be driving, there can be cooking. It all unfolds like it's unfolding right now in the stillness of being. And as the stillness of being, that's actually how it is. It is the stillness of being. That very stillness, one could say, moves as this conversation or appears as this perception. These are just words for the mind, because what we are speaking about is wordless.
Yeah.
But the words are for the mind, and they're okay, you know. But not to take them
Personally.
for the action. Yes.
Yeah.
So the idea that I cannot, how can I function in the world with the stillness? I won't be able to function in the world. At that moment, when that thought is arising, because it's a thought that's arising,
Yes.
it's inviting you to live in the past and in the future. It's telling you, okay, good enough with presence, good enough with the reality of being. Let's go into La La Land. Let's go into La La Land.
Mhm.
How can I, oh my God, how can I drive? How can I open the door? I can't. I am too expanded to open the door. I cannot
Yeah.
be too expanded. I can be expanded, but not too expanded. I can be expanded and open the door, but if I'm too expanded, I can open the door, but I cannot walk down the stairs. So how do I deal? What point do I go from being extended to being fully extended and back to being less expanded?
It's driving me nuts.
You asked Maggie this question.
You know, that scene too. At least that scene now, it wouldn't have been seen before, but it's at least.
Yes, yes, yes. So, you know, we develop a discrimination, John. We can at some point start to see, okay, here we are being invited by this beautiful thought, this beautiful feeling. We're being invited to go back into the storyline of, can I do it? Can I make it? Will I make it? Will I get there? Will I not get there? How do I get there? Etc.
Yeah.
And in that moment of going there, whatever there is,
Yeah.
the peace of being, that which is flowing, that which is happening easily and without any effort. Here we are talking and living and scratching my head and adjusting the light. All of this seems to be that simplicity of being seems to become very complex.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it leads us to, how can I now I am somebody in time. How can I get back? It goes into the tunnels, into the darker and darker tunnels. But in the tunnel, there is a light, the light of consciousness, you see, the light of consciousness, awareness, presence, now, this moment, awareness. Light of awareness is never turned off. And it's not a personal light, you say. It's not, a better light today than yesterday. It's the reality of being, you say.
Yes.
It gets simpler and simpler and simpler, John.
Yeah. There's an I that fights it, and it seems to anyway. I think some of that for me is just an impulse. Sometimes people call it conditioning, whatever the mind's, the habits, the impulse of, maybe, I'm going to use the word conditioning, but, let's just say habits from supposedly a long time ago, the past, but all those things, every time I speak now, when I say certain words, I can never, it always reminds me of who I am. So it's hard to do. But there is that. And I realize that now. So
there will be less and less and less of that. It's that's how it operates. It melts and melts and melts and and sometimes it's a good idea not to poke the beehive with a stick.
Right. Yeah. That's true. I think maybe in a way, I think the smarter thing seems, maybe this also goes along with the truth and knowing that, and then the understanding is that after a while, the other stuff is not paid attention to. As I said, it seems to be more important. At least it's going in that direction, that it's more important to be who you really are, to be the truth. It's more important to, if you want to do something, in a sense, is to go back to there and know your reality, know who you truly are. It's, if you want to do something, then you better to go in that direction than back to the this and that and the old feelings and the old I'm inadequate. How could I ever be this or that, or and so forth and so on. So yeah, I'm with you. Do you remember Rumi said, I don't know, Rumi had a poem, and I can't remember the exact words, but he said something about who he used the word who is this speaking these words. I'm not going to get it exactly right. Who is this speaking these words out of my mouth? And even when I read that, I didn't quite understand it when I read it a long time ago, but I have more of a understanding now.
Yes.
Anyway, I thought I'd mention it. Thank you, Maggie, so much. I appreciate it.
Yes. Shiva, there is yoga today after the satsang, or tu es là? Okay. I think there is a yoga session that Shiva is holding this afternoon. Anyways, any questions? Holger, yes, hello, Holger.
Thank you, Mekti. Just gratitude, and it's so wonderful to be put back into my natural state, and it's priceless. I mean, there's so much joy in everyday living, so much more space, and the simplicity is so amazing. I mean. And sorry, it's so loud here. Thank you very much.
Yes, Holger, very nice. I'm glad. Hola, Maria.
Magdi.
Hey,
Hi, Magdi.
hello, Maria.
Magdi, I just wanted to say that when you said all is unfolding in the stillness of being, whether we're walking or cooking, it just touched me deeply. It gave me such a sense of joy and happiness that I just wanted to tell you that.
Oh, beautiful.
It's very lovely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Nice to see you, Maria.
Nice to see you, my dear. Nice to see everybody.
Hey, Holger.
So you could say it's a labor of love to always walk us back several times during the day to this satsang piece? Or is this too much of a practice and mechanical?
It's God's light shines, it shines through all of us, and somehow we are very fortunate to come together and to sit together around the same fire, and to explore together, to question together, to look, listen, and try to comprehend. It's a very peaceful process and a very dynamic process simultaneously. It's the peace because of the love of truth, which is the only love there is, which expresses itself in our life, in our love for each other. One could say it's a labor of love for all of us. We all take some time to come together and put some important parts of our life on hold for an hour and a half or so to look together, to explore together, and you know, maybe initially we feel it's about me, but in time it becomes clear that it's just God's doing. You know, it's never about me. It's one could say it's about everything and everyone. You know, if there isn't a light in the tunnel, then it's really dark and isolated. If there isn't pearls of wisdom, you know, on this planet, that's what maintains a balance in this planet. You know, it's among the 7 billion people who believe in a sense of separation and into the personal self. If there isn't the wisdom of God's wisdom that among us, it would be a sad state of affairs. But it's there, it's there, it's there, and it's restores the balance and our shared interest and our shared passion and our shared commitment is priceless. It's the highest value. I consider myself very fortunate to be together this way, and also to be in God's light. I'm very fortunate, and I feel a strong a calling to speak and share.
It goes straight to the heart.
Okay, well, very lovely to be with you all. Thank you, Malcolm and Gisela. Nice to see you and to see that all is well with you. And Holger, John, hello, Holly, Maria, lovely to see you, Maria, Shiva, Rashmi, hello, Sam. Salut, Shiva, salut. I was mentioning that you have the yoga later today, I think. Hello, Kelly.
Hi.
Anna, hello. And Janine, hello, Janine. I hope all is well with you. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.